In this episode of the English Right Now podcast, we're talking about Halloween in the UK. Halloween is one of the most fascinating cultural celebrations, and it comes every year on the 31st of October. Of course, this is an English language learning podcast in which we teach you at least 10 pieces of useful related vocabulary. We say at least 10 because it's a real conversation with my dear friend Rob. Hello!
Hello, Roy.
What is that? Oh,
I'm getting into the theme of it, getting into character.
I love it. So Halloween, I mean, this is for anybody that doesn't know, hasn't come across us before. Each week we try to hello each other a bit more. I don't know why. It's become a little game. But welcome, Rob. How are you today?
Very good. Thank you very much. Yes, very good. And all ready to talk about this annual festival. Is it a festival, an occasion in the calendar?
A celebration, yeah.
Tradition, yeah. Happens every year.
Tradition. Yeah, and to be honest, we're getting closer to winter. It's getting colder. You know, summer's long gone now. But yeah, Halloween. So, do you do anything for Halloween? This is the first thing, because your kids are a little bit older than mine. Yeah. Do you do anything for Halloween?
Well, yeah, not so much now. When they were younger, we did go out trick-or-treating, something we'll talk about in a minute, and dressing up in costumes. Now they're older, they might tend to go to a Halloween party where they dress up, but they don't go trick-or-treating. They just stay indoors. They go to somebody's house and I don't know, have a good time. But but when I was younger, I don't know, it wasn't such a big thing where I lived. We didn't really do much. We may have carved a lantern out of an old pumpkin, so it looked a bit like the thing on the wall behind me there. It was a pumpkin with a face cut out of it, and you put a candle in it. But that's basically all we did for Halloween.
Yeah, I can't remember my parents ever doing much with me for Halloween. I mean, maybe we went out once, I think, in all the years. And to be honest, I think Halloween it's become a lot more popular more recently, in my opinion. I think it's more of a big deal because, interestingly, the origin is from this region. It's actually originally it comes from like a Celtic. It's got Celtic origins. Halloween comes from the ancient Celtic festival. Now, Celtic relates very much to kind of the people that lived in Ireland and what we now call Ireland and Scotland, this kind of region. And it's a Celtic festival, which is spelt like this: Samhain. It looks like Samhain, but apparently it's pronounced Samhain. And it marked the end of summer and the belief that basically the spirits could come into our world. But then it became a lot more American, I think, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think, the Americans adopted it. And of course, it's become more commercialized, as I was going to say. It's much more about, making money now, isn't it? You know, even in the summer, they start putting Halloween costumes and Halloween food in the shops. And it's almost like a week-long festival, even though it's actually only one day, the 31st of October, you know?
Yeah, I start to see around August Halloween things, and I'm like, oh, God, summer's over. And that's really early because it's the 31st of October. And you mentioned, so I personally, I think potentially it was a very old festival that kind of was adopted more by the Americans, became quite commercialized, and maybe we in the UK sort of saw it and thought, oh, that looks like a bit of fun. But apparently back in the day, people used to light huge bonfires, which were these huge kind of fires, and they would wear disguises to scare away the ghosts. We're talking way back in the past, we don't do the bonfires as much, although we do have bonfire night, which is another thing. But we do wear these kind of disguises. So there's a lot of hangovers from the traditional sort of celebrations way back in ancient Celtic times. But yeah, you mentioned trick-or-treating. When was the last time you went trick-or-treating?
5 or 6 years ago now. But I think this is what a lot of people do, particularly children. They love it. They dress up. They go around their town or their village, around the streets, knocking on people's doors, and they say trick or treat. And the idea is that the owner of the house will give you a treat, hopefully. And if they don't give you a treat, you're supposed to then do a trick on them.
Yeah.
I think most children get the treat, to be honest, but you never know.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Yeah, so that's one of our key pieces of vocabulary. The activity is called trick or treating, and then what we say is trick or treat. And it's trick or treating is basically children going from house to house, asking for sweets. Notice in the UK we say sweets, America it's candy, and they say the phrase trick or treat. And yeah, you're right. Traditionally, the child, if the person would choose trick or treat, they'd say trick or treat. And if it was trick, they'd have to play a trick. And I think when I was a kid, we still did do the tricks. I remember my mum saying trick, and then some children pulled out water pistols and sprayed water all over it. But these days, I've taken my child round and his friends, and if nobody says trick, to be honest. I think if they said trick, they'd be like, what? So
Yeah,
people
what
just
would they
get
do?
sweets and just put it in a box, and my son just
Or a
loves
bag.
collecting. Yeah, like that,
Yeah.
exactly like that.
So the
Although my
children,
son says bigger.
children, collect the sweets, the treats in a bag like this and carry it around. But as you say, if they said trick, I think the children might think, oh, well, what do I do now? Or
Yeah.
worse still, they might do something really bad. So I think it's not even worth taking the chance. Just hand over the sweets.
I've got a horrific story, by the way, a terrible, like a really awful story about trick or treating that I'll tell you in a minute. But you also used the word, and honorable mention, by the way, before my son decided that I should use different mugs when I'm doing the podcast with you. And this one, my son has bought me a bunny mug. Well, I say he bought me; he made me buy it. So this is my mug for today on this podcast episode. Thank you. I'll let him know you liked it. But yeah, one time, so people dress up. That's the word we use. It wasn't one of the key pieces of vocabulary, but dress up is often where we put on a costume. And a costume is one of our key pieces of vocabulary. And costume is basically an outfit of a character or potentially a monster. So they will wear a costume, like they'll dress up as Frankenstein's monster or something like this, or a ghost, which is a key piece of vocabulary. Notice the spelling, it's ghost, G-H, and not ghost, which is the spirit of a dead person, usually described as white and floating. Often for kids, it's a sheet over them.
Yeah, a white sheet with a little face cut out to it. That's the easiest costume you can find, really, isn't it?
Yeah, but the costume is that thing, and then we dress up. Even some of the adults dress up. What do you like? Did you ever dress up for Halloween?
Well, I didn't personally, no, but my children have dressed up, often as ghosts, because, as I said, it's quite easy to find a sheet and cut a hole out of it. That's usually the best thing. But also a skeleton. I've known them dress up as skeletons. You can buy from the supermarket actually a very easy kind of costume you put on, and it's got the shape of a skeleton, so just the bones of somebody showing down the front. That can be quite scary because, of course, when you go trick-or-treating in the end of October, it's dark, isn't it, at night? Yes. So it's quite atmospheric that you're going around these dark streets, and then if you've just got the shape of a skeleton turning up at your door, it could be quite scary, can't it?
Yeah, it can actually. But I was going to tell you this story. So we took my son trick-or-treating, and a lot of people, they sort of do up their houses. They kind of decorate their houses to look very scary. Some of them, sometimes they try to make them look like a haunted house, which is another key piece of vocabulary. Some people, a haunted house is a place believed to be visited by ghosts, or where ghosts exist. A haunted house, very scary, or can be. And some people put real effort in. And we went to this house, and there were it was quite scary. Cobwebs, which are sticky webs that spiders make that they no longer use. A cobweb is an abandoned spider web, and it's everything. And then my son knocked on the door, stood there, very excited with his little bucket. And a guy had dressed up as, I think it was Michael Myers from Halloween, or Friday the 13th, Jason. Well, he's had the mask on, a machete, blood all over him. And he came out and went, yes! And my son just burst into tears. He burst into tears. He was terrified. And the guy immediately was like, pulled it off and became very British. Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh my goodness. Don't worry. I'm not scary. Don't worry. Took his mask off, dropped the machete. Everything. It wasn't a real machete. You know, and he dropped. Are you all right? You okay? Because he didn't realize there was a 6-year-old boy there.
So some people are quite extreme, aren't they? With
the
costumes and also how they decorate their houses. We've got houses along here where they go to town. You know, they pull out all the stops. They go to extreme basically to make it look like a haunted house. It's very good, but I say for young children, this can be quite traumatic and quite a scary experience.
What did you said? Go to town and pull out all the stops, which both mean go the extra mile, to put in a lot of effort. Really good vocabulary we should have used, but we've taught it anyway. So yeah, we've done trick-or-treating. We talked about that, and people go to the houses, and some of these houses look very spooky, which means scary, creepy, or quite mysterious. That's a good piece of vocabulary. But I have to say, another key piece of vocabulary we need to add is my son was petrified. He was scared to the point where he couldn't move. He was terrified to the point where he was like, that's what we say, petrified. And another way we say that is scared stiff, when you just can't move due to fear. He was absolutely scared stiff. But I was going to say, if you dressed up, I could see you going as Dracula for some reason. I think you'd make an amazing Dracula.
Thank you very much. Do I have the natural look of Dracula?
You do. The tall, the charm, the slightly mysterious, but maybe.
Thank you very much.
Whereas I look like a werewolf that's kind of.
Yeah. So you're talking about all these kind of cliches, aren't you, with Halloween? These kind of obvious things. We have Dracula, wolves, werewolves. What about bats as well? Bats always fly around, don't they, at night on Halloween, traditionally?
Yeah. Some people do go a little bit more controversial. We won't necessarily talk about it, but some people they wear costumes of maybe famous celebrities who've done something very wrong, or they're in the news for very negative reasons, or generally disliked, and it's seen as quite funny or sometimes very controversial. Maybe a politician that people dislike, they'll dress up as this politician. People tend to find it quite funny, but some people, it may be controversial if it's maybe a criminal who's done something particularly nasty. I'm thinking of someone I'm not going to mention, but there you go. But yeah, so we do. And I think for adults, there are things to do as well when you don't have kids or your kids are a bit older. We often get invited to parties, I find. And we have this thing called a fancy dress party. And this goes back, fancy dress is again this same idea of wearing a costume, dressing up as something. Fancy dress, I'm in fancy dress, sometimes as a character, but it can also be a bit abstract, where somebody says dress up as a film, or dress up as a year, and then or dress up with the these kind of things. And adults, it tends to be a kind of Halloween themed party where we just kind of drink.
Often whatever you wear, it often involves drinking, doesn't it? But yeah, fancy dress, it's something basically you wouldn't wear normally. This is a special occasion, isn't it? These fancy dress parties. So you dress, as you say, dress up as a character or a theme of something. It's not about wearing fancy dress. Isn't just about putting a suit on, is it? Or wearing a tie. No. It's fantasy, isn't it? Basically, yeah.
It's intriguing because we use the expression dress up to mean wear a costume, but we can also say are you going to dress up? Are you going to dress up a bit, look smart? More informally, that one. And also, there's a difference between fancy dress, which means costumes, and saying somebody looks, oh, you look really fancy, which means quite elegant. I mean, it's a bit more informal, but you could say that, and that it's a bit. Yeah, there's an overlap there which confuses a lot of students.
Yeah. What about some of the traditional things that still happen on Halloween? Things that we make, like I'm thinking of jack-o'-lanterns, for example.
Yes. So you use two key pieces of vocabulary there. Traditions. A tradition is something that an activity that's linked strongly to culture or some kind of ritual, an event. So we have lots of traditions like trick-or-treating, and of course, jack-o'-lanterns, and a jack-o'-lantern is a pumpkin that has been carved, often with a scary face in it. And it usually has a candle inside. And some people decorate their houses or outside their houses.
Yes.
There, yeah, I don't know why I'm bothering. Right behind Rob is a jack-o'-lantern, but this is a pumpkin. Well, for anybody who can't see, because they're listening on Spotify or something like this, a pumpkin carved with a scary face is a jack-o'-lantern. A jack-o'-lantern. Yeah, and the activity, actually, strangely enough, we often call it pumpkin carving. Yeah, you know, I take my son. There's a place on the Isle of Wight which grows pumpkins, huge pumpkins, just for the event, just for Halloween.
Yeah.
And then I take him there every year, and then he carves a pumpkin. And some of them are really good. And we even had pumpkin carving at my friend's house as well, for the kids, but the adults have a go.
Of course. No, we do. Yeah, we do that. Again, I mean, the supermarkets sell pumpkins, don't they, around Halloween time, quite cheaply. You buy a pumpkin, and you make the jack-o'-lantern. What I, of course, like is to eat pumpkin pie. Have you ever had pumpkin pie? Made out of the insides of the pumpkin. It's quite sweet. You add sugar and stuff, and you make a pie. So pumpkin pie is a bit of a sideline to actually making jack-o'-lanterns. But
yeah,
the sad thing is, of course, all these pumpkins kind of get wasted, don't they? Afterwards, they'll get thrown away.
Yeah. So pumpkin carving, you kind of hollow out the middle, which is where you remove all the kind of innards, basically the parts inside, and then you kind of leave it as a kind of shell. So you've got all the bits of pumpkin. I don't think I've ever had pumpkin pie. I think pumpkin pie is a bit more American, isn't it? I've never tried it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So all these parts of the pumpkin often get thrown away.
Yeah.
And then you're left with the shell, which then you carve, which is quite solid at the start. But in the case of my son, he doesn't really like to throw it away because he's like, oh, that's my pumpkin. So we put it outside on the back garden, and it just rots. But it's fascinating. I don't know if you know this, but originally people didn't carve faces into pumpkins. They carved them into turnips.
Okay.
So pumpkins only became common later thanks to the American influence, apparently. Originally in Britain and Ireland, people carved faces into turnips, which are smaller and probably more common in the UK.
Yeah. I would understand that. But I say pumpkins now are especially grown for the occasion, aren't they? Fields and fields of pumpkins just for Halloween, not for any other reason than so people can carve jack-o'-lanterns.
It's weird because I wouldn't think of ever having a pumpkin any other time of the year. It's not something I naturally want to eat, or and pumpkin seeds, they're meant to be very healthy. I think occasionally we have those at home, but pumpkin's not really a staple food, like the standard food of the English diet. So it just kind of pops up every now and then, whereas turnips used to be not so much, actually. But and interestingly as well, I found out that trick-or-treating is actually newer in Britain. It's a huge tradition in America, and it only became popular in the late 20th century in the UK. And I remember as a kid, my parents saying, like, we didn't do it. And occasionally we'd often people would sort of say, oh, turn the lights out. But we didn't live in a very kind of an area with a lot of kids in it, with a lot of children.
Okay. But I know. I'd say, but as I said at the start, really, when I was a child, we didn't do trick-or-treating. I don't think it was a thing in the UK. Definitely something that came from America. One thing we may have dressed up as, I'm thinking of this now, is witches, because witches are kind of connected to Halloween, aren't they? And broomsticks, witches on broomsticks, because they're seen to be, I don't know, I don't know what their connection is really with Halloween.
It's the occult, isn't it? It's this idea that they can do spells and they could be evil. I mean, these days with things like Harry Potter and you have good witches and bad witches and all this sort of thing. But traditionally, the witch was seen as this kind of almost possessed or evil. I mean, it dates back a long way, doesn't it? Because we had the witch trials in Britain, where people would basically burn people at the stake that they thought were witches, because they were linked to the devil and evil and these kind of things. And these days, people just dress up as sort of pointy hats and green faces, don't they?
Witches and wizards. Yeah, it's true.
But
It's true.
you do see a lot of like zombies, people dressing like the dead. The Walking Dead, I know that's a TV show. I love that TV show. The Walking Dead, you see Frankenstein's monster, Dracula, witches, skeletons, ghosts, werewolves, and then the occasional fantastically wonderful costume.
Yeah.
The other thing I think we need to mention, there are quite a few traditions around this period of time with Bonfire Night, and we're going to talk about this, and there's quite a few things going on at the same time, but there are some games that you can see, like apple bobbing.
Oh yeah. That's a
I
good
haven't
one.
seen apple bobbing in a while though.
No, it's not very sophisticated for the younger generation, maybe. But we used to go apple bobbing, which is kind of getting an apple out of a bowl of water with just your teeth.
Yeah. Why did we do that? I mean, probably these days people are thinking about hygiene because all these people putting their faces in water one after another, and then and it's probably there's health and safety issues. Oh, is this person going to drown or something? I don't know. But yeah, you put your hands behind your back and then you kind of put your mouth into water to try and pick an apple up. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, very exciting.
I wouldn't do it now, actually, I don't think. But yeah, I mean, every year my friends they kind of throw a Halloween party, which I kind of really enjoy. But the other thing we should mention, traditionally, newer tradition, is the sort of the horror movies. A lot of big horror blockbusters, or the big horror movies, they all come out at this time to catch the kind of Halloween vibe, the Halloween spirit. Yes. You'd get kind of the big scary film for Halloween, quite traditionally, and some of them are terrifying. They leave you scared out of your wits. Scared out of your wits is a key piece of vocabulary that we've got to mention. It's scared to the point where it's, you're almost insane that you can't think anymore. I was scared out my wits.
Yeah.
But some of them are brilliant. But I was going to say as well, I think growing up, Halloween was my favorite. Halloween for Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
And I find it quite, I was going to make a joke earlier because the tagline of Halloween is "The Night He Came Home." And it's almost like Halloween has come back to the British Isles. It started here with the Celtic traditions and it came from that. And then it went to America and it's come back. It's come back like the best scary sort of things do.
It's interesting talking about it, actually, Roy, because I wonder, we talked about being commercialized. Do you think it's gone too far now? It's such a big commercialized event that it's kind of lost its original meaning and traditions.
Basically, it's something that the kids can look forward to. And yes, it's commercialized. Yes, it's expensive sometimes. But it is a bit of fun and the kids love it. And it's something that you can do as a family. I'm talking as having kids here. So I think, I think it's just nice when you've got younger kids.
I suppose you could say it's a good excuse to let your hair down.
Relax. Great word. Let your hair down. Great word. I feel like I've been letting too much of my hair down recently. I feel like I'll be shaving it off soon. But yeah, I love Halloween. I think it's brilliant. I think there are worse, I think there are, worse things to spend your money on than a bit of fun. And ironically enough, I tell you one of the best things. My son doesn't eat sweets. He loves collecting as many sweets as he possibly can, but he doesn't really eat them.
Yeah.
And then what happens is basically my wife or I eat them. So we get the benefit.
Same here.
Yeah. Well, I think we've really kind of talked a lot about Halloween. If you do have any suggestions for future lessons, let us know. And if you want to support this podcast, you can always buy us a cup of tea. The link is down below in the description. But thank you for listening to us today, and I hope you enjoyed. If you've got any questions, let us know. But Rob, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's been a treat, not a trick.
Oh dear. Can you do your best scary laugh before we go?
Very
good. I was going to go.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. Have a good one. I'll see you next time, Rob. Thanks for joining me.